We would like to hand on stage over to Dr. Nassef Manabilang Adiong for their reaction.
Hi everyone. Can everyone hear me clearly as I speak here at my end? Okay, great. Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to react or comment on Professor Shaun Rugunan's World Expert Lecture Series on Critical Management Studies and Decolonizing Management Studies. Now, I'm curious as to how critical management studies is interlinked with a decolonizing management studies and yet distinct from one another, as you profusely stated in your initial slides. And if critical management studies have tenets on denaturalization, you referred here as to deliberately make the familiar unfamiliar, to strip away discursive assumptions and common discourses and create cognitive dissonance. And the second tenet being the anti-performativity or critical performativity, which is actually linked to, as you defined in your slide, subversive active intervention into managerial discourses and practices. For example, exploring the colonial ideas and practices or praxis of productivity. And lastly, the tenet on reflexivity, meaning the reflexive of our being reflexive of our values as a human and academic and how we relay or transmit these values. In this case, what values, for example, do HRM, finance, and business offer? Then what could be the major tenets of a decolonizing management studies would look like? Does it also contain denaturalization, critical performativity, and reflexivity as starting elements for decolonizing management studies? Also, thank you, Professor Ragunan, for showing us how human resources management can be an ideological as well as political project. It's not just a set of techniques, as you stated, but also an ideology that has some appeal to managers, providing a rationale of their right to manage. You showed us that the Elton Mayo and the Hawthorne experiments funded by big businesses, so by J.D. Rockefeller and supported by Harvard Business School, was actually right-wing, undemocratic, anti-labor, and anti-human, and based actually on archival work by Bruce and Nealon and others showed that the HR and its contemporary incarnation, HRM, were initially based on methodologically flawed experiments. So the result of such finding is that uh, Mayo, Rockefeller, and Harvard Business School control the discourses on HR and on HRM, which in turn the consequences reverberated through decades in business curricula, which means that the same flawed empirical narratives are being repeated and replicated. And another consequence is they advocated for a unitary system of industrial relations. And lastly, they actually legitimize the lionization of management and leads. So these untoward consequences also unsurprisingly reverberated as well with other disciplines and fields of studies as well. So here are my starting points on the possibility and the need to decolonize knowledge, disciplines, and or fields of studies, management studies in particular. We have to put a premise that decolonizing knowledge, academic disciplines, and fields of studies as such should be understood as an intellectual process anchored on different aspects and different contexts, such as centering our worldview perspectives to create theories, methods, and research based on local perspectives and for our self-determined purposes as well. Um, Meaning that we are also capable to think uh, And on the other hand, it should also advance a structure rather than a process of the colonial management studies that actually appends colonial epistemological roots. We should rethink core concepts and underline the need to forefront geographies, peoples, and perspectives that were underrepresented in a colonial discipline. These decolonial structure may involve the creation and building of institutions, norms, and scholarly disciples to replace colonial structures and mitigate the effects of a colonized management studies, but also presents numerous challenges as current institutional frameworks are characterized by various forms of dependency on the global core. Taking actually this into account, I suggest a range of strategies such as interdisciplinarity in teaching, the promotion of local journals through an interdependent network of institutions, and encouraging homegrown theorizing in our respective classrooms. We can also provide a framework for such initiatives by promoting the usage of indigenous knowledge systems, or we abbreviate it as IKS, which is actually a confluence and combination of modern science and local knowledge and experiences. In the Philippines, this would involve critically analyzing concepts, paradigms, and frameworks in management studies so as to actually offer important insights on, on the capitalist, exploitative, racialized, and gendered world making. We could also offer insights on how to undo core periphery hierarchies and actually espouse a pluriversal and pluralistic global perspective. This could actually practically involve one, placing history and genealogy at the forefront of interrogating contemporary societal issues, trends, and contexts. Second, validating voices, stories, and literatures of marginal people who hold equal capacity to understand the modern world, and teaching management studies critically open to multiple canons and not revering a single canon over another, similar to what you said, coexistence of multiple knowledge systems. While the extant establishment of Philippine management studies grapples with conventional colonial modernity upholding Western canon, you should also acknowledge the multi-layered and complex factors that bear upon the interdisciplinarity and multidisciplinarity of management studies. If the question of what constitutes a decolonized management studies would look like is to be answered comprehensively, then I think there are no actual parsimonious answers to that. So a decolonized management studies will surely then give birth to a reimagined management studies discipline that engages with and represents the past, present, and features of our own local peoples and our own local perspectives that have thus far been marginalized and deprioritized in this discipline, meaning us, the global south. So thank you everyone for listening and looking forward to our open forum and questions. Thank you.